Well, as I've mentioned, I think my key background is in leadership, military leadership, very experienced in both business leadership and military side, and understanding economic development and how it directly impacts businesses. So as I've mentioned previously tonight, one of the jobs of the mayor is to be the public advocate for the city. He's going to be the point person in dealing with other governmental bodies. He's going to be the public face when you're doing a lot of your economic development, talking to developers. So one of the strengths I bring, obviously, is I share their background. I can talk to them in the language they understand and tell them, what's great about that. And in terms of my approach, obviously being 34, I'm going to be living in the city for a very long time. I'm going to be owning those choices I make as mayor for a very long time. I have 2 young daughters who are going to be growing up in the city, and I hope have an amazing experience. And everything I do is going to be focused on what can we do for the city right now, but also what is best for the long term of the city. What am I going to experience as I'm older? What are my daughters going to experience? And that's the approach I'm going to take to everything.
My background was in education when I first came to town. In education, you learn to communicate, you learn to work with people, you learn to be organized, you learn to be a problem solver, all of which I'm going to bring to the table, my expertise. In the area of teaching, I taught mathematics, which was an outstanding way to learn logic, problem solving. And the greater of the two is I did teach government. I taught government on the local level, on the state level, on the federal level. It was my teaching in the junior high that allowed the students to pass the Constitution test, which everybody has to take to pass there. So I do have a background in government. I brought in the Government Day exercises. When we brought them into the city, I was that representative. My students worked with the council. We went down to Springfield. We worked with the General Assembly. I let my students experience government on a first-hand basis. The experience on the council speaks for itself. If you learn the process, if you're there, if you see what's going on, it's a much better way to go through things. You can read about it, you can talk about it until you've actually lived it. It's a whole lot different thing. So having been there on the council, having taught students the different parts of government, logic, problem solving, this is made for better people, for our citizens, and this is made for better people being more involved in government.
Yeah, on the topic of experience, which obviously my opponent keeps mentioning, I would match my leadership experience against just about anybody. I may be 34, but 2 combat tours. You talk about real-world repercussions. The choices you make for you and your men in a combat zone are absolutely critical, and there's just no way to replicate that. And you want to talk about real-world repercussions to budgets, try owning a small business during a recession, which I did. And I came out on the other side ready to expand, which I also did. So I'd match my experience with anybody.
Well, I never have been in combat. I chose education as my public service to the country, and I appreciate you going into combat. I never had the privilege of doing that. I do, however, can state that I have taught junior high for 33 years. If you ever get in the classroom and you want to face problem solving at the junior high level, sometimes it might be easier to get shot at. But seriously, I believe I know how to work with people. I have led the students. I have coached state championship teams. I've been there. I've worked with them.
And I will say I have a lot of respect for teachers. The advantage of being a business owner when you hire a high school student is if you have problems with them, you can ultimately deal with them. As a teacher, you have to make them better no matter what. So I respect that as well.